everybody. Todd Mitchell here. Welcome back to the Game Dev Breakdown podcast. This time we're talking to Michael Hicks of Michael Arts Games. He's the creator of Path of Motus, which is available on a variety of platforms, including a couple of consoles. We're going to talk about his experience with shipping to different consoles, how it works, what the challenges are, and he's also recently been quoted by Polygon about the ongoing issues between developers and Steam. So his insight's really great. He's a super sincere guy who's very fun to talk to, so hang out and enjoy my chat with Michael. Michael Hicks, thanks for jumping on a call with me. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing okay. I'm trying to think. I met you at St. Louis Pixel Pop in 17? Was that the one where you came in?
Yeah, I've been to, I think, all of them. For some reason, I want to think it was 2016. I remember I had you take a picture. Is that right?
That was how we met. I sat in the front row because I was already there sort of taking pictures and hoping to write an article about everything. Yeah. And you came up to me and said, hey, would you mind taking some pictures? And I was like, yeah, no problem. And yeah. And what struck me about that was just like I was coming to sort of work throughout the day alone on the whole thing, you had clearly also come alone to do your thing and take in the festival and we're just two lone wolves crossing paths.
Well, yeah, you really saved the day because some people wanted me to get pictures. I think it was my mom and somebody else in my family were like, get pictures. I'm like, well, I'm not sure how I'll do that. I'll just have to find somebody in the audience that's nice enough to do it. And luckily you saved the day. So
I know. I just did a code.org event at Highland Middle School. And okay. My family did the same thing. My wife usually likes to come with me to stuff, and she's like, I can't believe it. I've got work. I can't do it. I'm like, no, I totally get it. So I actually took a couple of selfies while we were doing the whole thing.
I guess I could have done that, too. I'm just not a selfie person. I don't know. I feel weird doing that. So.
It's unnatural, but that's the way of the world now.
Yeah, that's how it works, yeah.
So I wanted to pull you on because you are an indie developer also based in the Midwest, and the number of things you've accomplished as an indie, it's pretty staggering, actually. And I wanted to kind of go through some of your experience and ask some questions about the sort of the indie landscape right now. And correct me if I'm wrong, but your most recent project is Path of Motus, which is available on a variety of platforms now.
Yes, yep, that came out in July 2018, and it's for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and Steam, and I'll give you the exclusive. We're actually going to launch on Switch in a couple of weeks. We're having a pre-order that opens next week, so you got the first scoop on that.
That is awesome. That's going to go great with the Switch setup and everything. I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of people have said that have played at conventions and stuff. They said, this strikes me as a Nintendo game, and the artist that worked on it, he's definitely a big Nintendo guy. So I think it's going to have a nice home there, hopefully. So
I love that. That kind of comes across in his art. I could kind of see that.
Yeah, and a lot of people have said that Motus, I think the teenage version of Motus looks like Link. I think people have said that. But it's funny that when he was working on that character, Breath of the Wild came out, and he was like watching YouTube videos of it on the side. Yeah. So I think that like subconsciously kind of came through. So
yeah, in a good way. I think that was probably meant to be.
Yeah, it worked out, I think.
So now, beside Path of Motus, being that you've accomplished a great number of independent projects of your own, be them video games, be it music, what do you consider kind of your portfolio pieces? What's the stuff you're kind of most proud of?
Yeah, I mean, I've been making music and games for a long time, but I feel like my last two recent projects are the ones I'm most proud of. So that would be the Path of Motus. And then in 2015, I released a game called Pillar for PlayStation 4. And we recently ported it to Xbox One, and it's on Steam as well. But those two are the games I'm most proud of. But I try to always do better with each one, so hopefully in a couple of years I'm more proud of the next project.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that your music is a very important part of your game projects. Do you work on music outside of games just to stand on their own, or how's it fit in for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was a musician before I was doing this. Like, originally I wanted to be a professional musician. In high school I was in a band, and we played some shows in the local area in St. Louis and stuff, and I made a few games before that, and then I kind of stopped the game thing because I was just so sure that I was going to be in a band and do the music thing. But I don't know. I think I like recording music. I don't like performing live a whole lot. Yeah. And I like to make kind of moody music that kind of sets. Like, I think I'm better set for like soundtrack work, if that makes sense.
Sure.
So it was kind of a natural fit. So I haven't really played in a band or like played shows really a whole lot in the last few years. I've just been doing music for my games, but it started. I was in a band, but things changed. So
understood. Yeah, it's really not a bad time to be a soundtrack vibe kind of musician or composer, because with all the streaming services and all the places to put your work out now, like those people are finding an audience better than they probably have since the classical music era.
Yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, it's I found a whole bunch of weird music all because of YouTube. Like I'll start like on something normal, and then like you go down the rabbit hole, and you're finding like all this weird stuff and all these genres that you've never been into before. So that's really cool, I think.
Absolutely. So now, considering a lot of people have probably come up with plans like yourself, I'd love to ship a console game, and I'd love to make this, this project or that project. You seem to have a pretty good track record, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, of pushing through and seeing those things through to completion. And I kind of want to talk to you about that motor you seem to have. And you'll have to tell me if I'm right or wrong about, maybe you just start way more things than anyone else, but I have a sense that you start something and you stick with it and you ship it out.
Yeah, it's hard for me to like give up on a project, and that's kind of been maybe a problem I've had in the past, because sometimes I have ideas probably aren't the best ideas, but as soon as I start something, it's like, oh, I have to finish it, like it's like a commitment type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've actually released at least one album every year since 2009, and there's been some years in there where I've actually had 2 or 3 albums.
Wow.
So the music output's been pretty consistent, but my game output I've actually feel like has stagnated a little bit, because we've spent basically Pillar took 2.5 years and the Path of Motus took 3 years. That was a lot longer than what we wanted. Originally, Motus was just going to take 1 year, and I've had to learn a lot about. I feel like the biggest mistakes I made on Motus was like production choices. Basically, making things as hard as possible for us. We're just 2 people, and each level in the game is totally different art, and there's not a lot of stuff that can be reused, and there's totally new music for every. I think most people that design games, they try to build like one system and then just make a bunch of content for that system. But I've been not doing that and just making life harder for us. So I've had to learn some lessons about production. So I'm hoping that my game output can be a little more, at least every year or so, but we'll see, we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think when people hear this, they'll probably take an interest in your full, life story, may be a drastic phrase, but to know more about your background. And I'm wondering, is that talk you gave at Pixel Pop, is that online anywhere?
Yeah, actually, you can go to pathofmotus.com, and that video is actually right there on the homepage.
I don't think it's saying too much that if people are interested in learning a little bit more about you, one way to do it is to play through the Path of Motus, and I won't say any more. Is that fair?
Yeah, I don't want to spoil everything, but yeah.
So, and imagine my surprise when I was like, I'm talking to this guy on Friday. Maybe, I've been wanting to check this out anyway, and let me go ahead and do that. Oh, great, good.
Yeah, I guess that was helpful to you, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely great interview prep. So, when it came to indie game development as something you're really going to take a push at, either way, you were going to go for a creative career. You wanted to do music as well, and so maybe it wasn't necessarily I can either be a game developer or I can go learn accounting. So maybe it wasn't as hard a choice,
Well, you mean how did I come to my career choice? Is that what the question is?
It's tough because I think for a lot of indies, they do come to that point where they go I could really take a run at this, but it would make more sense if I went to go learn how to sell used cars.
Yeah, do something more financially. Yeah, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah.
Sound, perhaps, yeah.
Well, see, I started doing this when I was really young. I kind of stumbled into doing this when I was 18. That's when my first professional game came out for Xbox 360, and it was just I really didn't expect anything. I just it was a dream that I wanted to make an Xbox 360 game, and they had the tools where anyone could make an Xbox 360 game, and I thought that was cool. It wasn't much deeper thought process than that. But then when I put the game up, I think it had 5,000 or 6,000 downloads, and I was really surprised that it even got that much, and especially for something that I had just thrown up haphazardly. And that's when I was like, whoa, maybe if I actually put in some effort into this could be a career. Yeah. And even some people on the message board for the indie channel, they're like, I can't believe you got that many downloads. I mean, it wasn't that amazing, but it was better than what some people were doing. I was like, well, maybe I can give this a go then if I'm getting some type of results. So that's kind of what inspired it. And I don't know, I kind of stumbled into it. I've always loved games, so it was an awesome thing to stumble into. But I knew I wanted to do something creative. Like this kind of goes into the game a little bit too. This is kind of touched on, but and you're from the Midwest too, so I can probably talk about this and you understand. But like my dad, he worked at a factory here, and in the '90s when I was really young, they shipped the factory job to Mexico, and he lost his job, and I kind of saw a bunch of people get screwed over, and it basically a lot of these towns in the Midwest where I'm from are kind of devastated because the economic, the people just got up and left.
Yeah.
And seeing that as a very young kid, it kind of gave me an anti-establishment type of attitude. Like I knew I wanted to do something on my own. Like I wanted to be my own boss, and I didn't want to work for someone where that would happen to me, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So I always knew that, I didn't know how exactly it would take shape, but I wanted to do something creative, and I wanted to be my own boss and have like some type of independent career. So like the option of like selling cars or like being a normal programmer at a studio or something, like I always had a really strong, I'm not going to do that type of attitude. And it just so happened that I was young enough where, I was living with my parents when I started doing this, so it's not like I had to worry about bills at the time. But I understand when you're older, you probably can't have quite that attitude and go for it like I did, because everyone's from different circumstances, But yeah, that was never an option I had in my mind at the time. So, nice,
and that's good context for that. I guess my version of that, and this is about you, not me, but my version of that was coming of age around the time I was getting ready to graduate college and going, I would love to work for a game studio, and looking around St. Louis and going, well, I guess I can't. Because at that time there was Pop Top Studios, which I sent them information of mine like twice, completely unsolicited. But by the time it would have done me any good, they had been absorbed into, I think it was Firaxis. I think Sid Meier actually came through and sort of shuffled that off to the coast. So. Yeah, for me it was like, and in my case it was like, I'll probably spend some time doing the proper 9-to-5 thing, but then the rest of my pursuits will definitely be indie. Just geographics is a big deal.
I mean, I don't know, and that's the thing too, is I never really thought, I don't know, I feel like things have kind of changed in terms of the geographics, because like back in the day you would have to move to like Seattle, San Francisco, or like where there's some type of tech bubble to like meet the right people to make this stuff happen. And but like that's not, I mean, all the people that I've met that have helped me like get on the platforms and all that I've met online, and then later I meet up with them at GDC or the conferences or whatever. So I feel like in some way maybe the geographic stuff has changed if you're kind of out to do it by yourself. But like you said, if you're trying to get like a studio job, like it is kind of well, I guess there is, like, I think we have Riot Games. I think they have an office in St. Louis, right? And
Riot
there's a few other ones.
What's the other one I'm thinking of? There are a few good places.
There's a few. But see, I never really even thought about that, because I was always so strongly like, I'm doing it my way. I'm going independent. I'm doing it from my house type of thing. So I actually never even knew about the St. Louis game development scene until I went to GDC. Our game Pillar was picked to be showcased at the 2015 GDC, and I met Carol Mertz, who runs the Pixel Pop, and she's like, "Hey, I heard she saw I was on TV for Pillar at the time, and her mom saw that and told her about it, and we ended up meeting at GDC, and she's like, hey, you're near St. Louis, you should come to Pixel Pop. We actually have stuff going on here for game developers." And I was like, "Oh, really? I had no idea." So. That's how that started. I actually didn't even know about any of that stuff when I first started doing this. So, but there is a nice development, and it's growing too in St. Louis. There's more and more people.
Yeah, Carol is cool, and Carol is everywhere somehow. Yeah. So like many times I talk to people, I'm like, well, if you know Carol Mertz, I know Carol Mertz. I'm like, of course you do.
Yeah.
So one interesting thing I want to circle back to is that you say you launched your 360 game when you were 18. The truth is actually, I think that you finished it when you were 17, had to wait till your birthday. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
I love that story.
Yeah, it's a real bummer. I finished it when I was 17. It was a 3D space shooter. Rogue Squadron, Star Wars Rogue Squadron was like one of my favorite games growing up, and I wanted to make a clone of that, basically. So just like a little small-scale clone. I finished it when I was 17. I was all excited about getting it up there, but there was a legal thing with Microsoft, and for some reason they can't. I think it has to do with payment. Like you have to be 18 to be paid or something.
Yeah.
It doesn't quite make sense, but as soon as I turned 18, that's when we got it going. So it was a nice little 18th birthday present.
Yeah, I can't imagine. That would be awesome. Yeah. You're one of the only people I know that I can think of right now, at least, that went to Full Sail University. Tell me what that's like, and is that something you're happy that you did?
Yeah, so that was my decision to go to college was mainly I wanted a backup plan. I wanted the degree. Again, kind of going back because my dad didn't go to college and he had that factory job. And then after all that left, he was like, I wish I would have went to college because now that's gone. Sure. And so it was a big, it was just a backup thing. I honestly I hated high school. I hated school. I was like a C/B student maybe. I always wanted to just get it done and go home and work on my creative projects. Yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed Full Sail, and I knew I wanted to go there because they were very hands-on, and I could tell that from the information that they gave me. And I went on a tour, and it seemed geared towards just like hands-on creative people. Like it just felt like a nice fit for me. And I went there, and I got my 4-year bachelor's degree in 2 years. So I was on the accelerated program, and it was super, super intense. Yeah. I was actually the only person from my starting class that graduated from the starting class. And there was like 35 or 40 of us. Wow. But really the only reason I made it through is because I was making games before, and I like referenced my old projects for certain schoolwork, and I had a little bit. So I had help, right? Because I had done some of those things before. That's the only thing I credit that to. But yeah, it was super intense, and I learned. I was a self-taught programmer before then, so I kind of got like the proper programming education. And some of the things I learned there really helped me cut down development time in the future. Some people ask me, like, should I go to Full Sail, and they're looking for a recommendation. The truth is, like, it depends on the type of person. Like, if you're like a very, trying to think of the word to describe it, like if you're very academically successful, you're very good at taking tests, and you study hard, you're like a bookworm type of person, it actually might not be the best choice. Like I said, it's just very intense. Like you're always doing hands-on projects, and it's like some of the classes were at like 1 a.m. in the morning. You have to. I'd say like if you're very passionate about what you're doing, and see the thing is, some people would go to the school and they're not even sure if they want to program, and those people I feel like got weeded out really fast. But like what I'm trying to say is, if you're really passionate, you want to program games or whatever it is you want to go for, it's definitely a good experience. But just know what you're getting into, I guess.
Yeah. So, I know what you mean, because I went for an associate's at ITT Tech, which was a little bit the same thing. Like you have to know exactly what you want. Yeah. You have to really hit the ground running a little bit, because it was the same kind of story. We had 30, 45 people, and I think 3 of us made it total. And instead of being that cool thing I can look back at, now I have to go, also the feds shut it down last year or whatever. Yeah. But
I didn't know that, but okay, yeah, it's crazy.
It's the sort of thing that, like, and you're going to get what you put into it, and you'll come away ready to go. If in fact you go in, you got to go looking to kick a little bit of butt.
Yeah, and the biggest thing I took away from it was the networking. Like, it was so awesome to just be around people that were so passionate about making games, and like people so one guy that was in my final project, there were 6 people on the final project team. 2 of them went to work on Red Dead Redemption 2. Wow. So that was, I keep up with everybody, and everybody's doing really awesome things, and it was a really special time. It just went by so fast because it was so intense, Yeah. Yeah.
It's nice to see somebody as dedicated to staying indie as you, because I don't think you'd have much trouble getting in somewhere if you wanted to.
Yeah, I've had people like offer me stuff. I want to be indie. Like, it's what I've always wanted to do. I want to work on the projects that I want to work on. Like, I pick games I feel like are very the last 2 games, I guess you could say, are very niche, like very specific types of games I'm interested in making, and I can never do that in the studio system. Yeah. So indie's a good fit for me, and I'm happy doing what I'm doing. So. Yeah.
Now, tell me, you've had opportunities to ship out on consoles twice, at least that I can think of. And one was a little while ago now, and one was fairly recent, and now you're doing it again on a different system. So tell me, like, has it changed? And has it always been, like, very different from just putting something up on Steam?
Yeah, it's definitely more work, because you have each system has a different name for it. Basically, it's like a checklist of quality assurance things you have to go through and test. Mm-hmm. And back in the day, like when I first started doing this, luckily I never, like when I did my Xbox 360 games, I didn't do the proper publishing route, so I never had to go through the quality assurance checklist. But back in the day, at that time, it was really crazy, from what I've heard. They had like a whole bunch of stuff you had to test, and they've really kind of cut down on that. So if you're just like a single person, it's a lot easier to get through, but it's still extra work. I spent at least a couple of weeks, and especially if it's the first time going through a platform, it can really set you back like 3 to 4 weeks, because each console kind of has specific little nitpicky things that they want to test for in your game and so on. So it's a little more work, and just the general getting your game up and running on a console. Sometimes it can be tricky. Like my games are written in C#, using, back in the day there was a framework called XNA, and that was a Microsoft framework that let anyone make Xbox 360 games, but then they discontinued that.
Yeah.
And then an open source version of it called Monogame kind of came out of the ashes, and that's what I use now. And there's been some issues because, like, the PS4 port of my games, I was able to still use a C# version of Monogame, but then on other platforms like Switch and Xbox One, C# stuff isn't supported. So the Monogame people, they've actually, and the guy's name's Tom Spillman. He's like the best programmer I've ever met. He made a tool that basically converts C# code to native C++. So
wow.
We used to joke about this back in the day. Like I made jokes about, I'm going to make some type of compiler so you can get the easiness of writing C# code, but then the efficiency of the C++ native side.
Yeah, sure.
And it was just like a joke. But then this guy went and did it. And so
nailed it.
Yeah, that's what I use for the Xbox One and Switch versions of my games. So there's a little bit of a delay. That was the point I was trying to make. Like Pillar couldn't come out for Xbox One originally because of technical, like it literally wouldn't run there. But now that Tom's got the C# to C++ converter, it's called Brute. I'm able to basically ship on any platform. So to answer your original question, it's a lot more difficult than just putting it up on Steam. But in the end, I feel like it's always worth it. I'm more of a console gamer, so yeah.
yeah, that's how I came up as well, and only opened up to the world of PC here in the last, I don't know, 10 years probably.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
and you know, if you're an indie developer or you're learning to do game jams or whatever it is, it's if you don't do anything for the PC, you're going to have a pretty bad time.
Yeah, PC's big for that type of stuff.
Along the lines of PC, you recently told Polygon, and this is something we all talked a little bit about in the St. Louis Developer Co-op Facebook group, but you told Polygon, and you were one of the only people to put your actual name on your on your quote about this, but you said there are people making quality titles that are getting the same level of support as troll games that were made in 3 days, then Valve takes 30% cut for doing next to nothing.
Yeah, I was a little harsh with what I said. I kind of regret like the tone of my attitude, but like I knew that it was going to get a lot of views. Like I hate being this guy that like is kind of has the attitude, like kind of a negative attitude. But sure. I knew that like a lot of people have been really mad at Steam, and there's a lot of work I think they could be doing to make things better, especially for smaller developers. And I knew that when I was talking to this guy, a lot of eyeballs were going to be on this, so I wanted to kind of give him some juicy quotes because we've tried to. So I'm part of this mailing list for the Indie Mega Booth, and the Indie Mega Booth is a group of indie developers that show their game at like GDC and PAX. And a few years back, we put together a survey basically telling Valve, hey, you know, we have a lot of concerns about this, and this, and we'd like to see you address that. And, you know, we did it all in private, and we sent it to them, and there was no feedback whatsoever. They basically ignored. And I mean, there's like hundreds and hundreds of developers in this group. It's quite a big undertaking. And, you know, my mind says like, well, you know, we tried to take the concerns private and they're not going to listen. And, you know, we're dealing with kind of corporate bureaucracy type of thing. The only times that those people seem to listen is when someone whines and makes a bunch of noise. So that was what was in my mind when I gave those quotes is I need to kind of, you know, give them some juicy stuff. So hopefully they'll listen and actually do something about it. And I do think that article had an impact. So
yeah, that's where some of that hot sauce came from then.
Yeah.
And I thought like there's got to be something specific on his mind because that was out of character is not like I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. That was like very direct down to business, and you know it seems like maybe they hopefully were paying attention.
Yeah, I mean it's and there's a lot of pushback from some people in the article too, by developers that basically were saying that I had no idea what I was talking about, and I'm not making an effort to talk to Valve and stuff. But again, the people that made that criticism, kind of like what was talked about in the article, like they have a Valve representative and they've had success and they had their game featured. It's like how that works is like such a black box that no one understands.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, basically we had launched Path of Motus and they didn't give it any type of boost, and the only sales basically came from people I was directing myself. And that was such a stark difference between how I was working with Microsoft and Sony. You know, they had people there I could talk to and pitch ideas to. You know, Like you tell them, hey, I'd like to ship on this day. Do you have any opportunities we could, help get more eyeballs on the game? And they're very helpful. And basically, my last 2 games, they weren't like huge successes, but combined, Motus and Pillar have been downloaded by like 500,000 people.
Yeah.
And I actually credit all of that to like me building relationships with Sony and Microsoft and working with them to get these kind of marketing efforts and so on. And a lot of the indies that have had major success, they never put any money into like Facebook ads. It was working with the console people, getting marketing opportunities and things like that. And then when I look at Valve and they're not doing any of that, I have like no contact. I mean, it's true. And people push back and they're like, well, Valve is very receptive, but they were kind of talking about like technical support. And yes, like they have a message board there that you can post technical concerns and they reply. But I'm talking about like having a representative that I can talk to and pitch ideas, tell them, hey, my game's coming out this day. Is there anything we can do to get some more eyeballs on the game? Like they're totally hands off with that.
Yeah.
And it's just to the point now where like it's just really frustrating because a lot of the smaller developers are kind of being screwed over by them, I feel like, because they're not putting in. I mean, what I said in the article, I mean, yeah, it has a little extra snark, but I kind of stand by what I said.
Sure, yeah. No, yeah. It sounds fair. And I'm wondering if Epic's new store maybe lights a fire under them a little bit. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited to see that. And I could tell, I mean, I don't know for sure if they read the article, but I get the feeling that they did because a lot of the stuff that they're doing, like, addresses the concerns that we all had in that article.
Yeah.
I mean, so far it looks like it's being, like, and that's another criticism people are saying about, because back in the day, like, people were criticizing Valve about being too curated, right? Like, they need to be more open, and then they kind of just opened up the floodgates, and now we're saying there needs to be more curation, and like there's a happy balance, I feel like, like, and I'm hoping, it seems like Epic is trying to hit that balance. We'll see. It's too early to tell, but I actually emailed them, and I got a response, and it seems like they're willing to work with smaller developers, but not until later this year. Right now, their schedule seems pretty booked. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I brought up Epic in an article, or not an article, but an episode of the podcast a couple of weeks ago where someone had asked me, they said, what do you think about the Epic Store because you're an Unreal developer, or a Unity developer, sorry. And I said, to tell you the truth, I don't think it'll be an issue right away. But based on Tim Sweeney's sort of stances on things around the web, I said, there could come sort of a conflict with Unity if they did the wrong thing that he thought was bad for the industry or something, and then it might become an issue. And people kind of bristled at that, like, whoa, easy. And then the next day, they went with Improbable and created that fund to move developers away from Unity. So,
yeah.
It's an interesting time for all kinds of developers, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, ideally it would be nice if like itch would take off, itch.io, itch.io, like that would be nice. I mean, I like that storefront, but the thing is, like, it's right now it's just so geared towards like small niche indie games, and like I dig that, and I know probably you dig that, and other people do, but like the market at large is not, I think, going to move to that anytime soon, Yeah. So we'll see, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
It's hard because I love the guys who run itch.io. I've had some conversations with them. I even reached out to them and said, if I was able to sell an article, like a in-depth interview with you guys to like an editor, would you be interested in that? They said, absolutely, tell us anytime, and we'll be happy to do that. And then, like you said, it's sort of focused on smaller indie stuff and little things. And even though you can do really cool stuff, they've got awesome build tools. You can go run your own jam there. A lot of the big sites and stuff, they're really not as into it. And it's, I do think that hurts it, but like, do they have a responsibility to make sure itch succeeds? Probably not. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, from what I understand, I'm not super like educated on like the people that run it and how they started, but from what I understand, I think it was just kind of they were just doing it for fun type of thing. Like, I think the people that run it, aren't they even developers themselves, I think?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, I think it kind of started from that mindset, which I like. Like, and it's very developer friendly, and you can even choose like the percentage that they take for the cut. Like, everything about it is super awesome, except for the fact I just don't think the average gamer, because they want like stuff that has the bigger releases and so on. But I mean, for like a niche indie store, that's my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about how Path of Motus is a little bit of a niche thing, but I think it does have a lot of broad appeal. Like, it controls like a dream. Like, the puzzles are really fun.
Thank you.
I had parts where I was going through it and playing it, and I thought, like, okay, I kind of had to bring a little bit of my A game to get through some of this stuff. And in terms of timing and platforms and stuff, and so I enjoyed that a lot. But I do think it's fair to say that it was maybe crafted to resonate strongest with a pretty particular audience, at least in terms of people who will really get what you were laying down. I'm curious, more than just the general reception, like from that group, what are some of the kind of stories you've heard people reach out? What kind of feedback have you gotten from that core audience that you're going for?
Yeah, I mean, and it's strange that I couldn't even tell you like specifically what the core audience, like it's not like a specific demographic. I guess it's more like people that have had certain life experiences or like share certain aspirations in life or something. I don't know. And I know like from a marketing standpoint that's horrible because you're supposed to know like what age group and what, but it's more of like people that have had certain life experiences. And I started to I had an idea that the game was going to resonate with people as I kind of tested it at conventions, because I've shown games at conventions in the past, but some people were playing this game for super long time. I had some people that would stay for like hours, a couple hours, and beat almost the entire thing. And sometimes this would happen at PAX where there's like a ton of stuff to do, right? So that was like so authentic. I mean, I had one guy that actually I try to cut people off because it's a demo, but he was so into it, I just let him beat the whole game. This was at a convention in Atlanta, and then he beat the game, left, and I swear to you, he came back and wanted to play again. And it was just like, I don't know, eventually stuff like that happens enough, and I had like kids play it that really loved it, and kids seem to be really honest about feedback. They'll tell you what they really think about it, and they seem to enjoy it. So I after that, I was like, okay, maybe we have something here. And then when the release came around, I worked with a PR agency to get the review codes out, and we had an embargo date. I think it was for the release day, right on release day. And a couple of days before, as the critics were starting to play the game, I received like 2 or 3 emails with people like writing a paragraph. They like went and tracked down my email, and they were telling me how much they connected with the game. And some people were even saying like it made them like break down and cry. Wow. And these were like critics, Wow, I've never had that happen. Like that really surprised me. I was like, man, I've never had a critic like have that type of like. Usually, my experience has been they don't want to personalize or like be friendly with me at all because they might like tear me down, so they don't want to like be buddy with me or whatever. But here they were like saying that type of thing, like giving me really honest like personal paragraphs of their experience. And then the game actually came out. I had player response, same type of thing. People seemed to be deeply moved by it, and like all my creative, I was hoping that the game would inspire people in real life to do whatever they were willing to do, like pursue some type of creative endeavor. And there were certain like goals I had with it, and I think all of that was met because I had some people tweet me. And they said, I just beat the Path of Motus, and I'm ready to start learning how to make games on my own. Like, they were, like, motivated to do their own thing. And
nice.
That was really cool. And just, like I said, just kind of the emotional response that some people had. But it was also – the reception was also interesting because, I seem to have a tendency now of, like, making games that are really divisive to people. And Pillar, I knew that game was kind of weird. But with Motus, I was hoping it'd have a little more general appeal. Yeah. But it was kind of the same thing. Like I would read reviews from people, and like sometimes it'd be like 9 out of 10, and they would like list what they really resonated with, and it'd be like a certain platforming section. And then I'd read a negative review, and that same thing that the other person praised the game for was like a major source of criticism. Yeah. And like that's so weird to read that, because like I've always kind of I've tried to be a person that. A lot of people, they don't even read the reviews, but I try to just to kind of discern, like, what's the thing here that a lot of people say is a problem. I can learn for that for the future. But I really couldn't do that this time because literally, like I said, the same thing that really resonated with certain people, other people would, like, bash down and say was horrible. Yeah. And a lot of it came from, like, the platforming design, which I knew I made some weird choices. But there were times where I wanted people to feel kind of, like, beat down and kind of overwhelmed. And instead of trying to, like, beat it, like, fight back with force, I wanted it to be more like a puzzle. Like, you started thinking about ways to get around. And, like, people, that was one of the biggest issues of criticism. Like, people didn't like that in the respawn enemies, things like that. But the other people, that's what they did like. I know it's so confusing, But, like, overall, like, it's definitely been my most well-received game. Like, I find people just writing such strong, positive, like, they seem to have a really strong emotional connection with it. But like you say, if you look at the general reception, it's been kind of divisive. But the people that like it, it's been really, really strong, and I'm pretty proud of how it's done. Yeah.
It is for a particular audience, but it sort of transcends the normal categories. It's like creative people thinking about what career choice they want to make or what path they want to go in their own lives. And it's like, what age do you put on that? Who knows? You know?
Yeah.
But if you're thinking, if you're introspective about some things in your life, maybe it's for you, you know, and that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely, if you're an introspective type of person, you'll get something out of it. And, you know, I was actually really worried at first. And there were some people that said, I remember a couple of reviews I read, they were like, I don't think any kid could play this game. And at first, I shared that concern as well. I was like, I think the puzzles might be too hard and the platforming, like these brutal sections, might be too much. But actually, like during my playtest sessions, like young children played the game better than adults. So I don't know, you know, I don't know. Like you said, well, in the game, you actually grow older. You start off as a kid and you grow into an adult. And my mentality was I wanted to touch on themes for each chapter of life. So in the kids chapter, I was trying to touch on things I was thinking about as a kid at that age. And then the teenager level is the same type of thing, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, this should have broad appeal. No matter what age group you are, hopefully you'll resonate with one of the chapters. That was kind of my mentality, but I'm not sure if that came across, but I tried.
I can tell you, my only kid is 4, so he didn't grab the controller, but he did watch me play it. We were hanging out together in the toy room, and I used my Steam Link to put it up on the TV screen and got to play it that way, which was fun. And he loved the sound design, like the music and stuff. He was super into it. And when I turned it off at one point to come back later, he goes, "Can you turn that back on?"
Oh, that's awesome.
So he's a fan of your music at the very least, and I think he really enjoyed the art too, and the bright colors and some of the cool stuff that was going on. So
yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's bright colors for a while. That gets really drab. Yeah, it's really dark. But yeah,
I think cool. I think the variation was sort of spot on. I really liked the sort of the pacing and how it went for being a relatively short experience. You know, it's.
Well, yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's definitely what I was going for. That's another source of criticism is people were saying it's too short, and I don't know. It's just like this is one of those games that I didn't want to overstay the welcome because like each part of the game is a specific thing. Like I didn't want there to be any filler, right? Each thing is there for a specific reason. Yeah. You know, so it's just one of those games I felt, you know, a 3 or 4 hour experience somewhere in there is good. So
yeah. You've also started a YouTube channel, and I want to hear a little bit about your motivation for that and what direction it's going. Like if you're still engaged with it, tell me about that. Yeah.
So actually, that started. Because I would just run into people that knew about stuff I was doing, and they just wanted to know how can I get into video games, or how can I learn programming, or you know, in real life and offline. Yeah. Or I said that wrong. On the internet and off of the internet, right. I'd run into people that would ask me, and eventually I just kept repeating the same stuff over and over. I was like, well, maybe I can organize, and that's when I did the motivational kind of here's my life story video or whatever that's on the pathofmotus.com. Because I was just repeating all that stuff over and over. So I was like, I'll just make a video of that. And then I wanted to do some programming videos to show people how to program. So we have 2 series. There's the Intro to Programming series. That's for like absolute beginners. I teach the basic concepts of how to program in C# and so on. And then there's a series after that where I show people how to make their own game engine that can make 2D games, and basically we just recreate what I use for my games. Mm-hmm. And then we have a few other videos there right now. We have a couple on marketing. I gave a talk at Full Sail a few months ago, and one of the instructors there recorded that and gave it to me, so I put that up. Oh, nice. But for the most part, I haven't been putting up a whole lot of content as much as I'd like, and people keep buzzing me like, hey, when can we get more videos? And I'd like to do a design series eventually, but I don't know. Like lately, I've had second thoughts about a lot of that stuff because I don't feel like I'm good enough to really like I'm still learning things. I just don't feel confident to put a lot of my thoughts out there just yet.
I understand, sure.
Yeah, because I like a lot of people, especially you go to certain conventions. I feel like a lot of people they're eager to just get up there and start talking, but a lot of times they maybe don't even have a whole lot of experience. They just want to kind of give their opinion on stuff. And I was definitely like that when I first started, and I just don't want to be that person. I don't want to say something until I really am 100% sure that I believe in what I'm telling you. If that makes sense, you know.
I would maybe offer up a slightly alternative perspective on that. 2 things. One, I think probably the only people who should make content like that are people who doubt themselves a little bit. Because I think otherwise you end up with that person who's up there and he's like, I bought some new shoes today and now I'm going to talk about C++ and whatever I feel like. Are there any questions yet? You know?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I think if you gave people a choice of this one guy is an expert. He's worked in nothing but C# for the last 15 years, and he's written a couple of books or whatever. But this guy has shipped 2 console games, and who do you want to hear from? I think more often you're going to hear from you'll want to hear from the guy who goes, here's what I learned, here's how I applied it, and it got me to the finish line. And it takes all kinds. You do have to have the people with that super in-depth knowledge to go to when things have hit the wall and you need help and everything. But if they only use it to argue on Stack Overflow,
yeah.
I think it takes all kinds.
Yeah, I think it's nice to have a variety of stuff. I just fear that the last couple of videos I did were just kind of like random brain dumps I've had about, because I'm still trying to figure things out, and I'm still really far from where I want to be, like with my career, right? Like,
sure.
I mean, I'm proud with what I've done, but there's still a long ways to go, and I don't know. And then when I just do these like little brain dumps of here's what I'm thinking about, it's like, well, why? Like, why do I think I'm important enough? I don't know. There's just like kind of an ego thing. I love that sort of. I don't know if that makes sense, but I just feel like I'm being kind of egotistical to think like my brain dumps are important to people and stuff. And I don't know, it kind of irks me out, so I back away from it. But people keep asking for more content, so eventually I'll do something. But
I think it's what they've started to categorize as imposter syndrome. And
I guess, yeah.
I get it. I go through it. But in your case, I don't think it's warranted. Let me just say that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
So I guess that brings us to a good point to ask, what do you think is coming up for you?
I mean, after the Path of Motus came out, like I had a bit of a crisis. Like, I mean, nothing. I don't want to like dramatize, but I spent 3 years on that, and like I just turned 26, and it's like this isn't. I'm starting to, I'm going towards 30, and it's like, is this really what I want to do? Is work, because like doing this indie game thing, like it's a lot of work, and like it's so much work, like you can never quite get in return, like monetarily, like what I put into it, right? Like game wasn't a huge success, and I feel bad because like the artist guy, like it was made by 2 people, my friend Gonzalo Antunes and myself, and he put so much work into it, and I wish I could pay him so much more than what I'm able to, and. I just, a lot of these things kind of go through my mind, like, is this what I want to do? And the answer eventually, after I go through this little crisis period, is like, yes, I want to keep making games, but like I want to not repeat this like 3-year process again. And like, I it wasn't even meant to be 3 years, like we were going to do it in a year and a half, and it just spiraled out of control. And I just made a lot of mistakes production-wise that I'm hoping to not repeat again. And again, see, that's why I don't like talking about this stuff, because it sounds like I'm on some drama binge. But like my social life really took a hit in the last 5 years because all I've done is like work on these games. Yeah. And I enjoy working on them, right? But like I have to learn how to, after the 8-hour workday, I step aside and go do something out, go out of the house and exercise and do healthy things. And because if I don't do that stuff, I'm not going to want to keep doing this, right? And I think that's what my little breakdown was trying to tell me, like, I'm happy with this work and it's working out, and I'll get by financially. That's all fine. But if you don't take care of yourself mentally and do this, have some type of proper work day, you're going to end up hating this stuff. And so like that's a lot of things that's been on my mind is, I want to pick a project that is not, because I know now what's like really how long something's really going to take. At least I think so. Yeah. Interview me again in 3 years and we'll see what I say. So like I'm hoping I'm hoping to pick a game that I really can execute well in like a year. Hopefully like 8 months to a year. And I'd like to do something that's not so like emotionally intense, because Pillar and the Path of Motus, like they're like, I think they're fun games, but they're also like very emotionally draining, like kind of intense games. And I like to maybe do like a comedy game, because I feel like people I like to think I'm a funny person. I have a sense of humor, and I feel like a lot of people that know my work, like they think I'm like the art game guy making like these serious things or whatever, and that's not what I want people to know me by. Like I like to just joke around and have fun too. So maybe I'll do some type of comedy game and experiment with different genres, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've been busy with the Switch port for Motus. Yeah. And once that gets out, we'll kind of bunker down and probably prototype some stuff and figure out for sure what I'm going to do. So.
Cool. And that's the other thing. Tell us where people can find your work. Switch port is coming up. They should definitely check that out. And what else can they see of yours around the web?
Yeah, so I mean, I usually redirect people to my Twitter. So my Twitter is @MichaelArtsGame. I basically just kind of tweet when I have news. You can also go to michaelarts.net. That's my website, and we have a mailing list. That's probably the best way to stay connected with me. I don't spam. Like I maybe send one email a year. Like whenever I have a new project to announce is when I'll send something. So those are probably the best 2 ways to stay connected with me.
Sure.
And the Path of Motus is available now on PS4, Xbox One, and Steam. The Switch pre-orders will open next week on Wednesday. And I think that's everything. And
on your website, there are some very awesome rap videos, which I recommend. I enjoyed that.
It's funny because I think we're going to do something based around that music project for my next game. I think so.
Oh, please do.
Yes, I think so. Because that's the kind of satire mood I want to go for. So
very, very cool. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much, and we will definitely check back in and see which direction things went for you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
All right, thanks again to Michael Hicks. That was an awesome time we had talking with him. If you want to check out Path of Motus or any of his other creative projects, you can do that by checking out michaelarts.net, or you can go to Twitter. If you want to check out the Game Dev Breakdown podcast and subscribe or leave a rating review, you can do that at iTunes, Google Play. We're available anywhere podcasts are distributed, and I'm happy to say we're on Spotify now as well. So check us out, leave us a topic or an idea or some feedback. We love hearing from you guys, and we will bring you more fun stuff next chance we get. And until then, keep up the good work. My name's Todd Mitchell. Catch you next time.